What is going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, bringing you another Viva Vinyl classic album review, and it does not get much more classic than this, folks. The 1977 soundtrack, Saturday Night Fever. An absolute classic. You gotta have it in your collection. I mean, come on, the greatest selling soundtrack of all time, won a Grammy Award for Album of the Year, and one of the greatest selling albums of all time for good reason. I mean, this album makes you want to dance, makes you want to put your teeth out like, yeah, while you're dancing. I mean, just from the opening track by the Bee Gees, Stayin' Alive, the absolute classic. You can just see John Travolta walking through the streets of New York, strutting his stuff. And you just get that song in your head. I mean, it's the epitome of the disco era when you think about it. That song, this album, and the Bee Gees, it's amazing to think they were already huge at this point, but they were not the first choice of the director who reached out to them. And then the movie was almost in post-production when he did, and they were working on an album. They had about 4 or 5 songs already written. And when he heard them, he was like, oh my gosh, this will be perfect for this film. And man, were they. Again, Stayin' Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, one of the greatest romantic love ballads of all time. Just when the voices come in, that vibrato of the Bee Gees voices, it just grabs you and won't let go. More Than a Woman, Night Fever, If I Can't Have You, which their version is not on this album. It's actually Yvonne Elliman who does a great version as well on the soundtrack. I mean, this is just the culmination of just the perfect disco era album. And I mean, you've got other artists like Casey and the Sunshine Band. You've got Kool and the Gang. Even the instrumentals on here by David Shire, like Night on Disco Mountain. And A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy, really cool. But the Bee Gees are the heart and soul of this album. Even the songs that they had released previously as singles that made their way on here are amazing. Like You Should Be Dancing, one of my favorite. I mean, Stayin' Alive, You Should Be Dancing, and How Deep Is Your Love are 3 of my favorite Bee Gees songs of all time, and they're all on this record. Of course, there's a cover of More Than a Woman on here. I have to say, this is technically a double album, over an hour long, but you don't get sick of it because it's all upbeat. It's all, as my wife would call it, happy music. My wife is really who got me into the Bee Gees, by the way. I used to make fun of them because of their high-pitched voices, but they were truly brilliant singer-songwriters, and what they brought to the table with this album, you can't take away from them. I mean, this was really, I think, the peak of their powers, and they really flaunt it on this record. Of course, there's all kinds of other things on here. You've got Disco Inferno by the Tramps, which always makes me think of the scene in Ghostbusters where Lewis, the neighbor, is locked out of his apartment and he's dancing like this at his party. I mean, so classic. I mean, you know, the movie itself, Saturday Night Fever, I had not seen until recently. And I was thinking it was going to be this uplifting, upbeat, fun movie, but it's actually a kind of dark film with a lot of really kind of downbeat things in the film. Of course, you know, there's tons of dancing in the movie. That's the fun part, but not the greatest movie. The soundtrack, way better than the film, I have to say. But man, so much great stuff on here. Again, even the instrumentals are fun. You know, it's so cool too. Some of these instrumentals really show that Latin music was a huge influence into disco as well. Disco was kind of this culmination of all these different forms of R&B, dance, Latin music. You know, there was so much cool stuff on here, like Salsation. There's a song with Calypso in the title. I don't see it on here. But, you know, you just put it on at a party and you can't go wrong. I mean, this album is so fun. you got to have in your collection. It is a classic. If I had to give it a grade, I give it a strong 8 out of 10. It is great. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Saturday Night Fever. So guys, what do you think? Put in the comments below. What are your favorite tracks on here? For me, definitely it's the first two, Stayin' Alive and How Deep Is Your Love. Bee Gees for life, baby. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, Viva la vinyl. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and be sure to ring the bell for notifications so you can always see great quality content like you're seeing on the screen right now. Thank you so much for supporting Johnny Radio, and I'll see you soon.